So I know that we're eating into everybody's Labor Day. So first of all, it's my pleasure to give you this warm welcome this Labor Day to the third African Sovereign Wealth and Pension Fund Leaders Forum COVID-19 Roundtable. My name is HUBERT DANSO. I'm the CEO and Chairman of Africa Investor and the Chairman of this Sovereign Wealth and Pension Fund Leaders Forum. And I'll be co-chairing this session today. As always, I'd like to start by thanking each of you for making the time, particularly on a holiday, to participate in this consultative process. Is to pursue ESG compliant infrastructure co-investment partnerships with a particular focus on the energy, healthcare and agribusiness sectors. The third recommendation was really to look at how we can develop and communicate seminal pandemic-oriented responses and investment models and strategies. I know my co-chair Uche Orji has a lot to say, a lot of great ideas on that particular recommendation. And then we have recommendation number 4, which is to champion institutional investor research insights to provide some seminal insights for the industry as it relates to the continent. And of course, I think we all operate against some very similar governance standards, so hopefully that will have a global impact. And that's driven by Dr. Mbui Wagacha, who's here with us today, who will also be talking about that. Recommendation number 5 was to motivate, which came from my good colleague in Egypt, who will be joining us, Ayman Soleiman, which is to motivate governments to consider directing some of the quantitative easing or emergency funding towards sovereign wealth funds to allocate and invest in the local economies on the understanding that we have the expertise, and that's an important role that we could play in that regard. Recommendation number 6 is to engage in policy partnerships with central bank governors. That's something that Duncan Bonfield from the International Federation of Sovereign Wealth Funds is championing, and he will talk again a bit more about that. And that's really just working more with central bank governors on framing the new regulatory environment and investment needs of the post-COVID economy. Finally, as we know, it's going to be very important for us to engage not only across the continent but globally. So the recommendation number 7 was really focused on coordinating and correlating our responses to this pandemic with global peer institutional investor and private sector industry bodies. As I mentioned before, infrastructure, co-investing and ESG really rose to the top as a big front runner, the critical area for us to have a much bigger and more dynamic impact, to build that resilient infrastructure under the framework of the African Union Continental Business Network's 5% agenda, which was endorsed by the African Union at the Heads of State Summit in Mauritania, which essentially is where us as the asset owner community undertake to increase our allocations to at least 5% of assets under management to infrastructure in Africa through a new institutional investor public partnership framework, where we are able to hopefully create a lot more alignment with the governments that are actually driving a number of the transactions, which is a variation of the existing public-private partnership, but lends itself much more to the investment criteria and approaches that many of us take as long-term equity investors in particular. So we have a great lineup of discussion leaders and guests today, and I know that we're limited on time, but it's my pleasure to welcome Hiro Mizuno, who I think everyone knows from his days as Executive Managing Director and Chief Investment Officer of Japan's 1.6 trillion government pensions investment fund. We have His Excellency Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister of Kenya and now the High Representative for Infrastructure Development, the African Union. We have Uche Orji, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, who is our co-chair. We have Solomon who is the CEO of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. We have Sandeep Rachuria, who is the chairman of the Kenya Pension Infrastructure Consortium. We have Ayman Solomon, who is the chief executive officer of the Sovereign Fund of Egypt. We have Nick Thursley, who is the director general of the World Pensions Council. We have Duncan Bonfield, the chief executive of the International Forum of Sovereign Wealth Funds. And we also have John Denton, who we mentioned is the first Australian Secretary General to preside in Paris as the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce. Last but by no means least, we have Dr. Mbui Wagacha, who is the former acting chair of the board of the Central Bank of Kenya and the former chair of the Kenyan Sovereign Wealth Fund. So just to sort of restate by way of a bit of housekeeping, I'd be most grateful if you would keep your microphones on mute. And by way of the format, we will go through each of our speakers, and at the end of everyone's intervention, then we will open it up for any discussions and questions and answers. You know, those of you who were with us at our last roundtable, we wanted to try to make it very practical. You know, we put out ideas, and then we really want to put forward some kind of concrete representation of a response to that idea that we could utilize as an industry. So last week we presented on how can we help SMEs and how can we employ digitization and digital trade, and we presented the Africa PLC platform as a sort of get us going type intro. Last roundtable, as I mentioned, highlighted infrastructure. One of the issues that came up is that it's very important under the 5% agenda that we look at co-investing more with each other. And we identified that one of the key starting points was that we share more information, we share more transactions, and we make it easier for not only ourselves, but also our strategic and international potential co-investment partners to get access to that information. So we have responded to that, and we just have a very quick demonstration of what that looks like in our context. So if Mariana is on the line, are you there, Mariana?
Do you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Mariana. Do I need to share the screen with you?
No, I can share my screen.
Okay, great. So if you could please just take us through our response in terms of what we regard as Africa's first infrastructure co-investment platform for asset owners. And as you know, we are a constituency of asset owners. So if you could just show them where we are. And this is a live platform, and this will show you how we can all collaborate more, picking up on the ideas that you fed us through this particular process. Over to you, Mariana.
Thank you. So I will show you a quick walkthrough through the platform. Over here, we have, first of all, the first thing is you need to register for the platform. There is a short KYC process that you need to undergo. After your approval, you will see all the platform will be available for you. First of all, you have the dashboard page. On the dashboard page, you can see information about your projects and other projects currently available. On the company's page, you can see different projects that are available in this platform. You can click on that and see additional information. You can also download the documents and any any documents that are the company, the project provided, you can see it over here and download it. One of the features is that you can invest in those projects. So first of all, on the fundraising, you can find the active campaigns. You can see all the information over here. First thing, you need to, after your, you need to get whitelisted. You click the whitelist request. Let me quickly just approve that.
So essentially, this is a platform where each of you and each of us that are looking for co-investors can post projects, all the necessary related information, and then we can come in and look at a project by country, by sector, by asset type, by region, and get all the necessary information. And as Mariana was saying, if you want to go as far as even consummating the transaction and investing, this is a blockchain-driven platform. It has immutable records, and you actually, if you want to invest directly on it, you have that opportunity to do so as well.
Yes. Also over here, you will be able to see your holdings, the companies that you're invested in. Let us just wait 1 second and let it to process. The whitelisting takes a minute or two to process. Meanwhile, you can see the current projects that we have over here.
So essentially, there are about 40 transactions that a number of you have shared with us, ranging from toll roads, airports, port-related projects, some agribusiness and healthcare-related assets. I think there's over $4 or so billion worth of assets on the platform at the moment, and then there will be opportunities for other projects to be onboarded. So we can support you with that as well. This will give you a window into what's happening in the rest of the continent as it relates to available infrastructure assets.
Yes.
In the interest of time, we might want to move on.
Okay. Over here, you can invest into a project. You just click the invest button. Of course, you have here the status of the fundraising. You have the information. You can choose the amount you want to invest. Sending the request invest, and once the process is over, you will receive your rights through the platform over here. You will see it as part of your holdings over here. So this is the main process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mariana. That's very helpful. But I think the key message, maybe you would unshare the screen. I think the key message here is that we raised this big issue about needing to be able to centralize data that we can then use for co-investment purposes and understand what each other's doing on the continent. And we now have a platform of this nature. So we look forward to not only working with each of you, but also project developers, as well as governments, the African Union's PEDA projects, and a number of others can be made easily accessible of the relevant supporting information there. We note that Anne-Marie and Batseta, who we'll be working very closely with her and her team. We've enjoyed our working relationship over the years, and we certainly look to take that forward. As Dr. Wagacha mentioned, the research project we will be pursuing. That will probably start within the next 14 days. And please reach out to me or Dr. Wagacha or both of us if you'd like to be part of a reviewing team that will actually look at the the substance and the content of the work. And then we will look to convene another roundtable, and we'll send you invitations. We'll consult with each of you to find out what level of interval would be useful. But it will be any time between the next 2 to 4 weeks that we should hope to be able to reconvene. We anticipate some various different economies reopening, which will have different implications for each of you. So we don't want to sort of burden you with every single week. But thank you again, and please stay safe. And I think with those words, I formally close this round table. Thank you very much.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.